Joining me now, political strategist Valencia Johnson and Jennifer Horn, former chair of the New Hampshire Republican Party and co-founder of the Lincoln Project. And I welcome you both. Valencia, top Republicans are following Trump's lead, not committing to accept the election results. Are they trying to lay the groundwork now to ensure a dragged-out legal battle?
Listen, it's more than laying the groundwork for a drowned-out legal battle. We all were here watching January 6th. This is the same rhetoric that Trump was using then, and he's just fueling the flames even earlier, right? And the reality is, as he continues to delay all of the measures to hold him accountable, he is also signaling to his supporters that they will be above the law should he become president, or if he's not president, that they should take matters into their own hands. So this is extremely dangerous, and people shouldn't just say, oh, don't believe him, he's not going to do it. Donald Trump has done this before, and we know that he's going to only ratchet up how extreme he's going to get if he doesn't win.
Jennifer, there's a Quinnipiac University survey. It happened in March, in which it found 2/3 of voters were very or somewhat confident that votes will be accurately counted in November. But that number drops to just 45% of Republicans. Do you see reason to sound the alarm about this trickle-down effect that Trump's rhetoric is having?
Absolutely, yes. To Alicia's point, this idea of trying to fan the flames of election denial, voter denial, this is the core of the RNC and the Republican parties and Donald Trump's election message. It's not about the economy. It's not about the border. It's not about any of these other things. It's about getting their base, their party members, ready to fight against a loss. The RNC is not running a campaign operation. They are running an election disruption operation. You can see it in who they brought in as staff. You can see it in the background of the attorneys that they have there, the message that they're filtering down to their state and county committees. They are prepared. It's conscious and it's intentional. And anybody who doesn't take it seriously right now is just going to make it even easier for them to be successful at this when the time comes.
Yeah, well, bet you both $10 that if Donald Trump wins the election in November, fair and square, there'll be no talk about this. Everything happened just fair and square. But anyway, Valencia, during his CNN interview, President Biden was asked what advice former President Obama gave him. And here's what he said. Take a listen.
Keep doing what I'm doing, and to make sure that what his advice is, the same advice I sort of gave him when I was his vice president. Look, you've got to organize, block and tackle, people knocking on doors, putting up signs. We have over 1.5 million individual contributors in America.
So look, he's describing a traditional grassroots campaign, slow and steady. Is that enough this year, Valencia?
Listen, I don't think it needs to be slow and steady, but it needs to be consistent. And yes, I actually agree that grassroots is what actually wins. As I've worked on 4 different presidential campaigns, no amount of national messaging is going to outperform the actual voter-to-voter contact, the door knocking, the texting, the phone banking, the actually listening to voters and going into states. And listen, he was talking about this in Wisconsin while his opponent is slumped over looking tired in a trial. And so it is proven to work. President Obama was an amazing organizer. He served as his vice president. That is how President Biden won in 2020. He was able to organize in a pandemic. And we know that when we get on the ground and talk about the issues and relate directly to voters, it does move the needle.
You know, and I'm going to pick up on what you've just said here, Valencia, with this. It's a stark campaign split screen this week. You have Donald Trump in court for the hush money trial charged with contempt. And then you have President Biden giving a somber speech on Holocaust remembrance. And before we discuss the split screen of Trump, quietly sitting and closing his eyes in court while President Biden was battling criticism over campus protests, is that what we are in for over the next 177 days? One fraught split screen after another in unusual circumstances?
It is, actually. And it's actually going to give President Biden the opportunity to talk about the clear issues that are happening, which, of course, is the concern around the Israel-Hamas war, which will actually be a big issue for a lot of Democratic voters. But he's also able to talk about issues of the economy, issues of abortion. Him and his vice president have gone to Arizona and Florida for battlegrounds on these issues. While again, former President Trump is literally slumped over in a New York courtroom, one of many courtrooms we will see him in this year. And that's slowing down fundraising. That's slowing down him talking to voters, which is a good thing for us, but it also paints a stark national contrast that will be easier for us to talk about as it comes closer to November.
So, Jennifer, Jeff Duncan, the former Republican lieutenant governor of Georgia, announced he's endorsing President Biden this week. And he ended his op-ed with, quote, "Unlike Trump, I've belonged to the GOP my entire life. This November, I am voting for a decent person I disagree with on policy over a criminal defendant without a moral compass." Is this a lone, responsible Republican voice, or do you think others will follow?
Well, so far, Jeff Duncan is a lone responsible Republican voice for sure. We're not seeing a lot of this from any direction of the Republican Party. I think you might see a couple more, but I don't anticipate that there's going to be some huge movement. The most important thing that Jeff Duncan and others like him who are willing to come forward can do is to influence those Republicans who are standing on the line, who are on the wall, right? It's less important that we have hundreds of known Republican names come forward with op-eds. It's more important that those who do help to move the thousands and millions of Republicans that Joe Biden is going to need to win. I hope we see Jeff Duncan out there campaigning for President Biden and not just writing an op-ed for him.
Can I ask you quickly, Jennifer, the fact that Nikki Haley, Indiana, got almost 22% of the vote. She dropped out 2 months ago in March. How alarming is that?
Yeah. Well, it should be alarming to Donald Trump because what we've seen from all the exit polls and all the numbers on this is that the majority of those Nikki Haley votes are more an anti-Trump vote than they are a pro-Nikki Haley vote. Trump, there are Republicans up for grabs if Joe Biden and his campaign, is able to target them and message them in a really persuasive manner. Those votes are out there. But it's the RNC and Donald Trump who should be alarmed by those numbers.
Okay. Jennifer Horn and Lyndsey Johnson. Ladies, thank you both so much.